Before we begin with our questioning, you're allowed to make a statement. Would you like to do so?
I've already apologized in the Crimson to the ABHW, to Fuerza Latina, and to any women at Harvard who may have been insulted, as I take it that they were. As for any charges stemming from the breach of security, I believe I deserve some recognition from this board.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Which part?
You deserve recognition.
I believe I pointed out some pretty gaping holes in your system.
Excuse me, may I?
Yes.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I'm in charge of security for all computers on the Harvard network, and I can assure you of its sophistication. In fact, it was that level of sophistication that led us to you in less than 4 hours.
4 hours?
Yes, sir.
That would be impressive, except if you had known what you were looking for, you would have seen it written on my dorm room window.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts.
And Nick. Excuse me.
How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
We're good, man. We're
that.
laughing. We're having a great time.
We're having a
over
good
here.
time,
We're giggly.
Yeah,
We're
we are.
giggly this episode.
which is good. That means, I had a good day. I hope you guys had a good day too.
Yeah, had a great
Yeah,
day.
most definitely.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this episode. It was super good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think we left off the episode stating that you guys hadn't watched this before, right?
No, it was my first time.
First time as well. Yeah. I
Okay.
did not know what to expect. I didn't know anything about Facebook and how it started. Anything about Mark Zuck other than he's a robot, a lizard man.
He's an
reptile
NPC.
person.
He's an NPC.
Yeah, he is an NPC.
He's straight up his.
He's all, the store will close at some point tonight. At that time, I do not know.
And then you speed it up
Yeah,
like
then
times
you're-
10.
Yeah, or you just walk past him, he just says random dialogue.
Yeah.
And he's just like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I think of him, if I can
He's
compare
a
him to anything, I'd compare him to a character on GTA.
I think of like a Skyrim NPC.
I've never played Skyrim.
Where like you walk past and they're like, did somebody steal your sweet roll? And you're just like, what? All right.
Just the most random fact he throws out there.
Yeah. Well, if you guys couldn't tell.
Theodore
yeah.
Roosevelt was this president.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you couldn't tell, the episode that we're going to be doing is The Social Network. And this
Yeah.
was your pick, right, Nick?
It was, yeah.
All
So it was directed by David Fincher, written by Aaron Sorkin and Ben Mezrich?
Yeah,
Mezrich?
he wrote the book that this was adapted from.
Book. Okay, so it was basically them two kind of going together and writing
Mhm.
this thing, and it came out in 2010. Gosh,
It's kind of crazy. It's been a decade.
it has been a decade. I feel like
And-
Facebook has been around so much longer.
Well, yeah, and it's also weird going back to this movie, knowing the context that Facebook is in now.
Meta.
Yeah, it's
Like,
well, not even that. It's
not
more
even-
of like a afterthought.
yeah, or like I even think of like with like Facebook's involvement in like recent presidential elections and like stuff like that. Like this was a straight up just a social media platform at first, and now it's become one of the most widely used platforms in the world.
Mhm.
How many Facebook profiles do you think there is in the world right now?
Billions.
Gotta be
maybe.
over, yeah.
Like gotta be a billion at least.
It-
And it's just insane that like this social media platform that like I know when I used it, like it was cool.
It
at the
was.
time.
Yeah.
And you were like, dude, if you don't have a Facebook, like
You're out of the
I
loop.
hate
You're out.
Facebook though because you get some of the memories from when
Oh, and
like
they're cringe.
Bro, one of my memories today was like my status for a good night post.
dude, I used to
What if I shared that?
At least
when
it
I was
was
when I was a kid, I used to always do the like
TBH, like for TBH.
no or like
I did that all the
or
time.
they like comment a color for
yeah,
something or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
and people would be like red, and you'd have to be like, I think you're pretty, or like
Yeah.
something dumb like
no,
that.
I
dude.
used to do. Oh, I used to do dumb stuff like that. I used to post, like my status for this and this. There's one specifically that says if I'm thinking a number between 1 and 50, and if you get it, I'll change my last name to yours. I used to do
yeah.
stuff like that.
That's so cringy, man.
Yeah, it's cringe to look back at.
Also, there's 2.9 billion Facebook
Yeah.
accounts
That's insane.
as of April of 2022.
Tell me though, it's fallen in relevancy. Do you
Yes.
agree or no?
Yes, because
Oh yeah, Facebook is for boomers now.
It is, right? It's for older people.
Facebook
who,
is for boomers who go on there and they listen to conspiracy theories and straight up believe like QAnon and stuff.
Yeah, I remember I was so against having an Instagram and a Twitter and all that stuff, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna focus on Facebook. And I was on there and I would play my little dumb Facebook games. You'd log in and they would immediately send like, dude, those
Dude, you remember
I'd
Poke
play
Wars?
Tetris Rush.
yeah, Poke Wars.
Oh my gosh. Somebody poked you like 37 times. You
Yeah.
just gotta,
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah.
But that's what it was back then, and now
that's
it's like,
what it was.
dude, I
Farmville.
hardly go on Facebook.
Oh, me too.
I only go on Facebook when I'm like super bored late at night and I'm just watching Facebook videos.
Mm.
No, the main reason I go on there is for like selling stuff.
Yeah.
And
Facebook
that's-
is just straight up like a cesspool now.
Well, all of them are, to be honest.
Yeah, all of them are.
Yeah.
Especially like Facebook and Twitter.
Facebook
Like,
and Twitter. Yeah,
Twitter's a cesspool that you don't get, like, it doesn't give you consent in whether or not you want to see certain things.
No, it's
Like,
just
it's
shows
just
you.
like-
Facebook is just at least like, hey, well, this is graphic, but we'll show it to you if you want.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
you have to agree to see it.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at with Facebook now.
yeah, and it, like we said, it's just taken on a whole new form than like when it was, around back in 2010,
Yeah.
which is just even crazy to think that this was 10 years ago that this
Yeah.
came out.
What came out
And-
in what year did Facebook come out?
That Facebook come out, it was,
Yeah.
I think it was probably around like 2005, 2006.
Yeah, that's what
Or at least that's when it went public, I think.
Well, the Facebook or
Like actual Facebook where it was available to everybody, not just college
not just
students.
colleges. Yeah, and that's the thing I didn't know. I didn't know that they wanted it to be exclusively for colleges and that their main goal was to spread to different colleges. I didn't know that's
Yeah.
how they got around. I figured it was just like, hey, we've got this social media site just like MySpace, just like all the other ones.
Yeah.
Come be a part of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that it started out initially as an exclusive, like, it
Yeah.
was almost like a frat club,
Like
kind of.
like a club that Mark Zuckerberg wanted to be so accepted in.
Yeah.
So he made his own.
So he made his own.
Yeah.
Sketchily, if I might add.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe so too. We have some people who might disagree here, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, sure.
Some people just called me out. We both
I know,
said.
we both-
we both just said.
You literally were shaking your head.
We were looking at each
literally
other.
like this.
I don't know, man.
Only one that could disagree.
February
Yeah.
2004.
2004. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that just goes to show you that the history that this thing has had, and it's kind of sucks because I think it's just going to continue to be a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially with like its arms and the metaverse and all that crap. So,
Yeah.
but we digress. Let's talk about the film,
Let's do it.
not about current events. So, Nick, this was your pick. Do you want to give us a quick little synopsis and a spoiler warning before we get into the
Yes,
categories?
I will. So, first off, it stars Jesse Eisenberg as Mark Zuck, Andrew Garfield as Eduardo Saverin, Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker, and a couple other ones. Armie Hammer plays the Winklevoss twins. So those are some of the names in there, but it basically follows Mark Zuckerberg as he kind of goes through a breakup. He decides to channel his anger into his coding, basically.
Yes.
He codes a site that is directed towards men, pretty much.
Yeah,
and it's
rating women.
rating women of their schools.
Yeah.
Which is very sketchy.
Yes.
But he does that. He gets in really big trouble, and he takes that energy and some ideas from other guys and decides to build his own social media page called
Yeah.
Facebook, obviously.
Mhm.
And we get to see him do that, but it doesn't really focus on Facebook all that much. It focuses on his relationships with his best friends, with his dorm members, and how that kind of evolves as they grow to be business partners together, as they grow to kind of separate from one another, and what that does to their relationship and their business,
Yeah.
and how to incorporate another man that they don't really agree with.
Yeah.
And just to kind of see the downfall of that relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's really, truly an interesting tale.
Yeah.
But that's the synopsis, the basic gist of it. If you want to watch it, it is currently on Netflix.
Mhm.
It's been on there for a while, so watch it on your own time. Come
Yeah.
back to us if you don't want any spoilers, because we will be diving deep into spoilers coming up soon. So stop, watch, come back, and we'll continue on.
Yeah. All right. Cool. You want to go ahead and start us off with your first favorite scene?
I will, yeah. So my first favorite scene stars Mark Zuck, Jesse Eisenberg, and the girl's name, I'm forgetting her name right now.
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara. She is incredible.
And she's only in the movie for like 4 minutes.
She makes such a big impact.
Yeah.
She is such a like a emotion starter for Mark Zuck.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm talking about the introduction scene.
Yeah, yeah.
It introduces us to Mark Zuckerberg and her and their relationship and how he thinks. He is a straight up robot, honestly.
Yeah. Or he just thinks he's like smarter than everybody.
Yeah, you get to see a little bit of his ego come through.
Well, he's going to Harvard. Of course he is.
Gosh, and the way that they decide to show the dialogue too is so crazy because they'll be talking about one thing, he'll have a motive of what he wants to get to, but she'll talk about the things he's talking about, and he goes, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this now. We're talking about this. That's in the past. What are you talking about? And she, like, there's that one moment where she's like, I feel like we're having 3 conversations, and I don't know which one to aim for.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was really unique. I liked their dynamic, and I liked that she was truly interested in him. She was trying to keep up with him. He was fighting back, and we kind of get the introduction of his ego, and where he wants to be in life, and he wants to get recognized, and how he's going to do that in regards to these. What do they call them? The parties, the final party or something like that.
Final clubs.
Final clubs, right? You're right.
And those are like prestigious clubs that are going to get you connections in the real world that will hopefully solidify jobs and all that stuff. And like it's essentially like frats. Like you're getting into a club called like the Phoenix, which is like the most prestigious, or the Porcelain or whatever it's called, and it's just full of people who want to eat each other.
Yeah.
Like they have this disguise of like, oh, brotherhood and all this stuff, but in all reality, they're stepping on anybody and everybody they can, including their brothers, to get to the top.
Very true.
And one of the things I really enjoy about this scene, it's also one of my favorite scenes, is Rooney Mara's character challenging what Mark Zuckerberg has to say. Right? Like there's a point whenever Mark says something about like, well, if I get into the Phoenix Club, then you'll be able to meet a bunch of people that you wouldn't normally get to meet.
Yeah,
which I thought was like,
she's like,
yeah,
what?
And she's like, what is that supposed to mean? It's very arrogant, right? To be like, well, yeah, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be able to do all that stuff. But luckily, you have me, right?
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, who do you think you
she
are?
She was kind of smart the way she responded. She was like, you would do that for me? And he was like, well, you're my girlfriend. She was like, well, you don't have to because I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah.
And I said,
he says like, yeah, we're dating, and she's all, well, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not dating.
It's like,
and I thought that was the best clapback.
The thing that got me so frustrated was when he was saying, "Oh, you don't have to study. You don't have to study. Oh, don't study. You don't need to study.
You got to be you."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so condescending because he's saying, "Oh, you're at an easy school. Like you can get through this no problem. You don't need to study because it's easy. It's not prestigious.
It's not Harvard.
It's not Harvard."
Yeah, I'm in Harvard. You're in BU.
Yeah.
There's a difference. It's like, come
on,
on, bro.
like,
it's very condescending.
Step off your high horse, dude.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Humble yourself a bit.
Yeah, and the reason why it's one of my favorite scenes is because the clap that she does at the very end when she's leaving, she straight up, and I love it too because it's true. He could have definitely been like, she doesn't like me because I'm a nerd and I'm smart and all that stuff. But no, she straight up stands up and says, you know what? You're going to be a good computer guy. You're going to be so great on the computer and you're going to go far in life. And you're going to think that girls don't like you because you're smart and you're a nerd and all that stuff, but that's not true. I'm here to tell you that it's solely because you're an a-hole.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's go.
Yeah. And she
deserved it.
She obliterates him.
Yeah.
Like I
does.
I love that she completely breaks down everything that Mark is and is just like, listen, you're a jerk. And it's not because of these things. It's because you're just being a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that you like about you, like physically or mentally or personality wise. Or I guess I shouldn't say personality wise. Like anything on paper, right? That someone could judge and be like, it's none of these things that are making you inadequate. It's the fact that you just suck.
You just suck
as a person.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that she really breaks that down. I also really enjoy in this scene how you can like totally tell that Mark is so insecure about his intelligence and how other people perceive him.
Mm-hmm.
So he just puts on this like tough guy facade whenever he's not that.
Yeah.
And I also like the breakdown or the nuance in like, in a lot of movies where it revolves around like nerds, right? Like this movie showed like nerds could be cool.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and, or nerds could like be
uber successful.
yeah, exactly. And I like that you know, in a lot of those like old nerd movies, like Revenge of the Nerds, or like something where there's always like a nerdy trope character, it's usually like a bully jock type character who is the jerk, and the nerd comes out on top. But this time, it's the nerd that's the jerk, and there's no jock type figure or anything like that in this movie. It's our protagonist, or who we think is our protagonist, is actually just an a-hole, like Rooney Mara's character says. And that's the person that we get to watch throughout the whole film.
Yeah, that's the person they set up right in this introduction.
Yeah.
Like the first 3 minutes, you immediately understand how this film is going to work because there's 1,000 conversations going on with just these two characters. You know, you're going to have to follow it pretty closely, and then you get to see who you're going to follow the entire film.
Yeah.
And I know it's like we talked about this beforehand, but it's overly dramatic on the actual history side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I mean, otherwise it'd be really boring, right?
Yeah.
It'd be more like documentary, not necessarily an actual dramatic movie.
Exactly. And I think that's the case with a lot of like historical movies, or I guess you could call it historical fiction, right? Like it's based on something, and they take big, what's the word I'm thinking for? Like they take some big liberties with some of the facts that are portrayed and all that stuff, and you know they dramatize certain aspects to make people more intrigued at the movie, because at the end of the day, you're making a movie. Yeah. It's not, you know, an actual retelling of events. Sometimes
you gotta you know, keep viewers engaged.
Exactly.
So,
and one last thing about this intro, I do love the opening credits, because that's like the only bit of downtime we get in this 2-hour runtime.
Very true.
Is like this like 2 minutes of opening credits of Mark walking through Harvard, and it's got this beautiful score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Mm-hmm. I forget the actual name of the song, but it's a beautiful just piano, just couple of notes just going ding, 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 and I love it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and it's one of those things like I put this on at work or something, and I'm like, all right, I got to get this done. Mm-hmm. I need to crank whatever it is that I'm working out and finish it. And I don't know, but it motivates me.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
But I just want to say off the bat too, one of the things that highly works for me in this movie is the score.
Yeah.
This also put me onto Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross as composers, aside from like what they did with 9 Inch Nails, and seeing their work here along with, you know, the stuff that they did with like mid 90s and soul. Like, it just goes to show these guys are great composers, and I want to see what they continue to do, because they consistently put out heat.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. All right, so that about concludes your first favorite scene.
Introduction.
Do you got one, Abe?
Yeah. So mine's probably like the sequence starts probably like 2 minutes after this, when he's rushing to his dorm to make
face mash.
Face mash.
That's my next one too.
Gosh.
But not essentially that scene. I like the whole sequence, because I mean, he's like trying to get revenge, and like he's telling his roommates, I'm gonna do this, like we'll just send it to a couple people and then see who they send it to. And so basically he's making this website where they are choosing who is the prettier girl.
Yeah, who's hot or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And he's an evil genius.
He is.
He is.
Like,
he's able to hack into 7 other school boards to get all the.
Get
They
all
actually
their
call them the
get all their-
Facebooks.
Yeah, and it's like school IDs.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
straight up photo IDs for school students.
Yeah.
Or
And
college students.
so he makes his page and then sends it to a couple people, and they're obviously it's just a domino effect after
Spreading
that.
like wildfire.
I love
Um,
this scene so much.
And it's crazy because he's just
Yeah.
like sitting back. And so this is where we also get introduced to our character, Eduardo, who he's like the missing piece of this website was the algorithm that he used.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So he gets this algorithm and he's like, hey, I saw you broke up with your girl, or they broke up. Are you okay? What can I do for you? And he says, I need the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all he says. And you can tell Eduardo didn't want to do it. And he was just like, are you sure? And again,
Writes it out the window.
and which is I thought was really cool. But my favorite scene is my favorite part of the scene is when the Harvard domain crashes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole network.
The
crashes.
whole network
You can
crashes.
see all the guys going, yo, look at this website.
And so
Yeah.
everybody's going crazy. And Mark is sitting back, and Eduardo's sitting back. And then it just crashes. And Eduardo just is like, is that really what happened?
Yeah.
Do you think it is?
And they're
and
like, I
then
can't refresh. I can't get in.
Mhm.
Mark was like, yeah.
Yep. We just
did
crashed
that.
the network.
I did that, and
Yeah.
I was just like, how are you proud of that? But also props to you.
Yeah.
You should be proud.
That's a big feat
Yeah.
to like crash one of the most prestigious schools in America's
Yeah.
networks.
yeah, over 22,000 clicks, right?
Yeah, and within the span of what it was,
4
like
hours.
4 hours.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's
That
really
is insane. It reminds me of the quote of the guy saying like, "I couldn't even give out free drugs to that many people." And it's like it makes sense because it's hard to have that kind of impact.
Yeah.
And like again, seeing his, excuse me, he was actually like happy
Yeah.
to see, and I was just like,
I also
Let's go.
I love the juxtaposition in that scene or that whole sequence where it's showing him like doing these like hacker stuff, right?
Mhm.
And it's very exhilarating. There's this
Mhm.
awesome song that's accompanied with that whole sequence, and it's very like jumpy and jittery, and the whole time it's like you're just sitting there and you're like, dude, this guy's going in, like what's happening, And it's cut together with like footage from some of these clubs that they're trying to get into and the type of stuff that they do, like people playing strip poker, beer pong, getting drunk, dancing on tables, like all this stuff. And like I like that it shows you the juxtaposition of like what we assume is like regular college life. Like movies have made college life as like this image of like, oh, it's nonstop partying and people are doing crazy things all the time. And then what most of the time it really is, just sitting in your dorm room doing stuff
Literally
with your
just-
friends just on the computer.
Yeah.
But to these guys, this is their party. And to the other people who have no idea what's going on or don't really care to know, that's like their party.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the whole, mashing together of those two lifestyles
Mhm.
and showing like exactly everything that's going on at campus at the time.
For sure. Yeah. I also like this scene too because it's a really smart way how they framed the exposition. Because he's straight up sitting there, and the whole time he's coding into all these schools, he's also blogging along the way. So we get to hear his inner thoughts of how he's doing this. He goes, I'll just do this and this and this. And they use this frame, or I don't know the lingo, but he talks and he's like, oh, this is just easy child's work.
Yeah.
And it was a smart way to get into his head without him having to be like, hey, you see this? Oh, this is so easy. Watch me. You know what I mean? We just get to be in the moment with him, hearing his dialogue, and it making perfect sense because he's the type of guy that would much rather spew out his ideas on screen rather than
rather than say them,
than connect to other people. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Other than the guys he's with.
Which is one of the great ironies, I think, of this film, right? Like a character that is so closed off and so, antisocial to everybody around him and would rather post all of his thoughts online for millions to see than to connect with somebody on a personal level is so ironic.
It's a guy literally pining for connection.
Yeah.
And yet he can't seem to get one.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's literally screaming to the world like, I need friends. And then people come up to him and he's just like, oh.
Yeah, he constantly makes decisions that ruin those friendships.
Exactly.
And I think it's even highlighted at the end where he's just sitting there.
Requesting friendships. Request. Refresh.
Refresh.
But he's refreshing only on that one person.
But it's supposed to symbolize a sense of like,
Do you think so? I think
this is where his decisions have left him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I view it in that regard.
Yeah.
Rather than being sympathetic towards him, because it's hard for me to feel sympathetic for this dude.
Yeah.
After all I've seen.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the next favorite scene if you're finished with yours.
Yes, that's the end of my first favorite scene.
Okay. So my next one jumps pretty far into the film.
How far?
Yeah, mine does too.
My next one is the Sean Parker scene whenever we get introduced to him.
I'm trying to think, 'cause my next one is, do I have your attention?
That may be
around
before.
the same ballpark.
Again,
Maybe
this
before.
is
It's when they go to California and when we get introduced to Sean Parker's character and who
Oh, yeah,
he
this is
is.
before.
This is
Mine's before.
It's gonna be difficult to talk about it because it's almost like we're getting flashbacks.
Yeah.
But
So it's almost
not-
like the present time is when they're in the deposition,
Yeah.
and we're getting flashed back to
To previous depositions with the Winklevoss twins.
yeah.
And then, what actually went on during the time of the deposition and then what happened to make that deposition happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little
It's a melding of timelines.
for sure.
But they do it very masterfully,
They do
I will
it
say.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
So I can't tell which one's next.
Yeah.
My
So you
scenes
can
are
say
kind
yours.
of,
I mean,
Okay.
It doesn't. Yeah, well, you can backtrack.
One of the other things I'll say about this movie too that I think you and I agreed on, Nick, was it's very hard to pick out a favorite scene for this movie because the pace is just nonstop. It's relentless, and everything just kind of blends into one another. So, like, whenever it comes to actually picking a favorite scene, it's like, well, I really liked that part, and then like it kind of just went on to the next thing.
Yeah, it
you know?
became
And, like,
something.
Yeah, and it's just like it's like there's no actual separation between scenes. It's all just one long thing.
Yeah.
And it's great that they're able to do that. That just shows the the masterclass of writing that Aaron Sorkin can produce. But also it's kind of like a little bit of a thing where you kind of just bring up certain parts of the movie and you're like, oh, do you remember that part?
Yeah.
And you can't just actually talk about
Like
it.
in chronological order.
Yeah.
So
Again, with my favorite scene was whenever we get introduced to who Sean Parker is, and straight up, we just see Justin Timberlake on screen. And I remember as a kid hearing that Justin Timberlake was in this movie, I was like, oh, what? Like the guy that did, Sexy Back, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? He's in it. He's a serious actor now. And I just love the scene because it's just such a flex. The whole time he's like, they wake up. He wakes up in some random girl's bed.
so egotistical
And-
too.
Yeah, and we got previous knowledge that we wanted to that Facebook wanted to expand to Stanford. They wanted to get out into California, and we just immediately get brought into who this Sean Parker guy is, and this random person that he woke up with, who has Stanford underwear on. And so we automatically assume, oh, she's this college student, and then she says, oh, I'm a French major, I have to go to biochem and all this stuff. And Sean Parker is essentially just talking about all this stuff, and she's like, oh, do you even remember my name and all this stuff? And he tells her all this stuff that he remembers. He's like, oh, here's your name, you're this major, your dad does this, and like all this stuff. And she's like, oh wow, you're pretty good. And then she asks him what he does. He's like, I'm an entrepreneur. And she's all, oh, so you're unemployed.
Yeah.
And he's all, no, I'm not unemployed. I'm just, I sell things. I make things. And she's like, okay, well, what was your last preneur? And he says, well, the last time I did something, I completely changed the music industry, and I created a website where you can download millions of songs for free and all this stuff. And she's like, oh, like Napster? And he's all, exactly like Napster.
It's like, that's
And
me.
And she was all, oh, so like, she's like, oh, so like Sean Parker from Napster or something like that. And he said, exactly, that's me. And she's all, you're Sean Parker. And he's all, speaking into the flesh, how are you doing?
Yeah, she's like, I just slept with Sean Parker.
Yeah. And then he's all, exactly, you just slept with me. You slept with Sean Parker. And she's like, oh my gosh, well, I need to go take a shower and all this stuff. And it's very egotistical, and to like think about like, yeah, that's me that you just did it with, and all
I'm
this
so
stuff.
great.
But it's also sort of a flex.
It
and
is.
and to just be like, yeah, what's up? Like you didn't know, and now you know, which I kind of also find like a little unbelievable. Like, how do you know the person that created Napster without ever seeing their face or seeing like what they look like?
Yeah.
Like, she named the creator of Napster Sean Parker, but she didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah. I never even thought about that. Only because I didn't know who he was.
So have you ever even used Napster? Like, I used Napster when I was a kid. My first MP3 player was a Napster branded MP3 player.
Wow.
That I went on Napster, downloaded tons of music that was for free, that was at the time, I mean, I guess it wasn't illegal, but
No.
there was just no copyright law or anything
Oh,
like
yeah,
that in
that's-
regards to like downloading and all this stuff. And I loved it. I was like, dude, this is great. I can get any song I want for free, dude. I don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah,
I
I have
remember
never.
doing that with like LimeWire and FrostWire.
Oh, dude, no, but LimeWire just give you viruses like crazy. Napster was like a good site. You wouldn't get viruses from it, like, and it straight up like you just go into any album, any song, just download anything for free, no matter what. It was
Dang.
crazy.
Yeah, he changed the game after that.
Yeah, and now streaming is like a household thing.
Pretty much the only way.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another one of my favorite scenes, and the fact that like this is how we get introduced to him. And I kind of like that Justin Timberlake sort of kills his role, but I also can't put behind the fact that it's Justin Timberlake
Yeah.
on screen. Like I can't not think about like
Oh, that's Justin Timberlake.
that's the guy that did As Long As I Got My Suit and Tie.
Yeah,
You know?
I see him and I see the frosted tips. I see him like A
I
bunch
feel like
gonna be
any-
May.
Yeah.
It's hard to put that past him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that's to his detriment, at
Yeah.
least for me. But and that's also why he opens her face or he opens her laptop, sees
Yeah.
that it's on Facebook, and immediately is like, "Oh, I see the value in this.
Yeah.
I got to get in
What is
contact
this?
with Mark Zuckerberg."
Yes.
So that's how he kind of comes into the fold. But you want to talk about yours next?
Yeah, so mine is "Do I Have Your Attention" is the way I marked it. And basically, in this part of the movie, he's going in between two lawsuits.
With the
One
Winklevoss twins and then with Eduardo.
with Eduardo.
That sucks.
And this one is with the Winklevoss twins. And I think this is one of your favorite quotes, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Mark
And-
Zuckerberg savage quote compilation number 12 on YouTube.
and I just liked it because I was like, I mean, he's not wrong, and he just shut him up. And the lawyer was pretty annoying, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he
They're
does
just
have
doing
a
what
job to
lawyers
do.
do.
Like, he
Yeah.
has to ask questions.
Yeah.
But I the quote that Mark Zuckerberg gives, again, is,
I'll let you say it just because it's your favorite.
It's masterful.
it's, man, I like, when I watched the scene, my jaw just kind of is like,
I was just like, bruh. That's what I'm
damn,
saying. And
dude,
that's
like-
why I liked it, because I didn't expect seeing him, how he acts around other people,
yeah.
and then being in the hemisphere? No. Atmosphere. Hemisphere is up in the sky. Being in the atmosphere of such
Hemisphere's not even in the sky. That's
What is that?
stratosphere.
Yeah.
What is hemisphere?
Hemisphere is
Hemisphere's-
like the right and the left.
Yeah, it's like
Hemispheres of the world.
it's like you're up here, your toilet goes this way, or you're down here, your toilet goes the other way. that's the hemispheres.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
different hemispheres of the world.
Okay, well, atmosphere is what I meant. Being such in a serious atmosphere, I didn't think he was capable of doing
Okay.
something like that. So that's why I like this scene a lot.
Yeah, one of the reasons I really enjoy this scene as well is Jesse Eisenberg's
My
acting
gosh.
in this scene is just insane, and I think the dialogue that is written here too, it just works with Jesse Eisenberg as a person
Mhm.
so well. Like, he has this ability to just articulate everything that he wants to say exactly
It's
and adequately, and it's almost like
it's a talent, man.
yeah, it is, and it's like this guy's mind just works at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he knows exactly what he wants to say. He never stutters. Like, it's just perfect.
Mhm.
But that block of dialogue that I have here between the lawyer, whose last name is Gage, and Mark says, "Mr. Zuckerberg, do I have your full attention?" Zuckerberg stares out the window and says, "No." To which Gage says, "Do you think I deserve it?" Zuckerberg says, "What?" Gage looks back at him and says, "Do you think that I deserve your full attention?" Mark says, "I had to swear an oath before we began this deposition, and I don't want to perjure myself, so I have a legal obligation to say no." Lawyer responds, "Okay, no, you don't think I deserve your full attention." Mark says, I think if your clients want to sit on my shoulders and call themselves tall, they have the right to give it a try, but there's no requirement that I enjoy sitting here listening to people lie. You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount. The rest of my attention is back at the offices of Facebook, where my colleagues and I are doing things that no one in this room, including and especially your clients, are intellectually or creatively capable of doing. Did I adequately answer your condescending question? And the whole time after he answers it, I'm just like,
He knows how to
Dang,
write.
dude,
savage.
like-
And literally right after that, the judge says, "I marked 12:45
he's
lunch,"
like, let's go to lunch.
and he was like, "How do I recuperate from that?"
Yeah.
Like, so it was just like a full savage scene.
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I like this scene too because we've gotten introduced to all the characters and we know that they're best friends. Along with he had roommates too, and now we get to see him in a deposition where they're literally suing him for $600 million,
Yeah.
and you get to see that there's a break in their relationship. So obviously there's gonna be a bunch of tension.
Mhm.
So it makes so much sense to see him kind of break like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did like that.
Right. My next favorite scene after the Sean Parker scene is when Sean and Mark are in the club, and that's the further ways down the movie as well. Unless you have something before that.
The only one I wanted to talk about, I can't remember where it's at in the film, but it's when the twins go to talk to the president.
Ah, dude, I
Okay.
hated that
Harvard.
scene.
I think that's
I-
before.
It's before. Okay.
Yeah, it's before.
So the Winklevosses, these are Army Hammer times 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's all, he broke the Harvard student handbook.
it's kind of lame because
I hate the Winklevosses.
Okay.
I can see their disposition. I can see why they're upset, and I can see that they don't want to tarnish their name.
Yeah.
You know, they come from wealth, and that, you know, it's not code to sue.
Yeah.
So the next best thing is going to the president.
Yeah.
And I kind of like,
And embracing nepotism.
yeah, because they really
Well,
truly
that's
do.
a big word. I don't know what that word means.
Nepotism is like getting things that you want because your name has status or power.
Or it's like your relatives are helping you as well.
yeah, like you know.
It's like you got a job because your dad's the owner, or you got a job
Exactly.
because, and you're so unqualified, but you
Yeah.
still got the job because someone is one of your relatives. That's how.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. And they use his name. They use also a lot of their status as well,
Yep.
which you can see a little bit of their ego coming out.
Yeah.
And they're saying like, you know, we're rowers and we've won several.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're 3.9 GPA. Like,
I pay tuition. We've won this school
yeah.
awards. Yeah, I get. Yeah.
But they go to this president, and this president does not even give them the light of day, honestly. They walk in there, undergrads, and he has absolutely no respect for them.
Yeah.
I also love, too, that there's a big difference between the twins. One of them is more reserved. Well, he doesn't really talk, not necessarily reserved, but he's like, he's brash.
Yeah.
He goes in and he goes like, we're going to get this done, and I'm not going to be polite about it.
Yeah.
While the other one's like, Sir
we
President,
need to be gentlemen of Harvard.
yeah. It's like, there's a
Yeah.
big difference. I like
Yeah.
that characteristic between them. And I just like that the president was like, man, if you don't, like, sorry, dude, this isn't about the school. This
Yeah.
is your own problem.
This is a conflict between students.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with the school.
Yeah. But I also, the genius writing comes in play, too, whenever he's like, what do you mean? Like, oh, gosh, what's the quote? He goes like, what do you mean create something new? I'm trying to. And then the guy's like, well, you got to like stifle some of those ambitions. He's like, but you told us on the first day of school to never do that.
Yeah.
And it was funny to see him kind of be hypocritical a
Yeah.
little bit. And then him just completely just saying like, oh, this is your problem.
Yeah.
I
Just
thought-
go create something new. Like, it's easy.
I
Yeah.
thought it was
I mean-
quite savage of the president who was saying to do those things. Eventually, the guy was like, "Oh, but he stole from me." He goes, "What, an idea?"
Yeah.
And then he goes,
He's like,
"Well, he stole my laptop." Like, obviously that was a lie. And straight up the president says, "Oh, we don't deal with petty larceny." And I
Yeah.
was just like, "Bro, are
There's
you kidding
not-
me? That's still like that's money."
Yeah.
There's
And
not
he was
much
like,
they do.
he was like, "I don't care."
yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's also crazy too how the president kind of pulls out his credentials too and is like, I served on like
Or he was a
U.S.
secretary. or something like
yeah,
that.
I was a secretary of state and
Yeah.
blah, blah, all this stuff. And he's like, I don't got time for this. And it's a pretty like intense battle of the wits
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. And I also like how whenever they get introduced to it, into that whole scene, his secretary is kind of like this building is like older than the country that you live in. It's like 300 something years old or something like that.
37.
337 years
And he
old.
goes,
Yeah, and when they leave mad, one of the angrier brother breaks off the doorknob because he slams the door and he's all, "Oops, I broke your 337-year-old doorknob," and just puts it on the table. Just like, oh man, like this guy's pissed, but he's also like a jerk.
Yeah.
yeah, they are. But
Yeah.
they're somewhat justified.
Yeah,
A little
is.
bit.
It is. And also just the writing is just
It's
it's witty, it's smart, it's funny, it's everything gets brought back full circle, and it's one of those things that you always expect from like an Aaron Sorkin script.
Yeah.
So.
I just wanted to bring that scene up.
Okay.
I have two before yours.
Okay.
So my first one is, in a scene when it's the trial with Eduardo and him, and they're bringing up pieces of evidence,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the Mark's lawyer brings up a piece of evidence that somebody wrote something about him about animal cruelty, that he was
The chicken.
Oh gosh.
forced animal cruelty.
This is the
Um,
bro moment, and I feel because
It's a bro moment,
it sucks.
but I wrote it down because they both clapped back at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if somebody actually wrote that or if it was Mark who planted it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really specify,
It
right?
doesn't specify, but I think
Yeah.
he planted it. If you want my opinion.
I don't think he did. I do. I think that he genuinely cared about their relationship.
Mm.
So he wasn't gonna bring it up, but Mark's lawyer brought it up, and Eduardo's angry about it, this and this and that, and they're like bickering about it, and then eventually Eduardo was like, "Oh, he did this and this and this," and I liked it because he said sorry, or yeah, I think he said sorry for something, and then they go and talk about the animal cruelty, and I thought it was so funny that he was feeding his chicken.
He said, I didn't know it didn't have anything else to eat, so I just tore up pieces of chicken and gave it to him.
He's like, fish, eat fish too.
He was all, they said it was forced cannibalism.
I know, it's like, it seems like such a minor thing.
Yeah. He's all, don't marlins eat other trout?
Yeah, it's like,
It's so funny.
And then so then he goes sorry, and then I totally forget what Eduardo said, that like it was supposed to be bad on Mark's part.
well, see, this is the reason why I say he cares, is because, you know, the lawyers bring it up, and Eduardo was like, oh, what the hell? This isn't even like a big deal.
Yeah.
So he defends himself and all that. And then
Even the lawyers say, like, Mark said that he didn't want to bring it up.
Exactly.
Or he vouched for you. He vouched for your character.
yeah,
Yeah.
He defended you.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm like, see, and that's why, because he brings up the whole thing that he posted one of his tests online and are getting people to answer or to write stuff about the
Yes.
artwork.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, he cheated on a test.
And then he goes, oops, not knowing that he defended him.
yeah.
So I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and then I love his little kind of retort where he kind of dishes it back on him, and he's like, you brought that up, and the lawyer says, like, it get brought up during the litigation process, and he's just kind of, oops.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's just I was just like, good, like they're getting at each other. I liked it.
Yeah.
For sure.
What was
And
your other
then
one?
The next one. The next one.
The
is-
Minecraft one.
I guess I'm thinking about Minecraft. The next one is when he says, I'm gonna hire 2 interns, and they're basically
Oh.
playing like a big game.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
who can-
Big drinking game.
Yes.
Of who can.
Dude, that drinking game's ridiculous.
One
Yeah.
drink every 3 minutes, and one drink if I get next to the wall.
Every 10 lines of code, it's like,
Yeah.
they're going to get plastered by the end of it.
And
It's very exhilarating, though.
it
It
is.
is,
I
it
was,
is, we're
I
like-
was just like, who's gonna get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see Eduardo come in and this and that, I just like when he goes, "Welcome to Facebook," and then you're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah."
See,
Yeah.
you think it's absolutely ridiculous, but then he goes, it's not much different than any other frat, like, to get into any other
Yeah,
frat.
you have to go through a process of hazing and
Yeah.
initiation and all that crap.
Yeah, and this is
Except-
his initiation.
Yeah, except Mark is the leader of this one, whereas he couldn't get into the other ones.
Exactly.
So he's the ringleader.
And
right?
but people like it.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, while he's doing that, Eduardo's trying to get in to a
Yeah.
frat, and he's doing like all this hazing rituals and initiation and all that stuff.
Exactly.
It's a very good scene.
Yeah.
So that was my other favorite scene.
So the one that I wanted to talk about was whenever Sean. It's a little further into the movie, but when Sean Parker and Mark go to the club,
Mm.
and it's after this point they've already met once. They go to this club in L.A. and I just love the way that the scene is shot because there's just this blaring like house music. It's just poof, 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 just
Mhm.
going in all this bass and crazy lights and everything looks beautiful. But the whole time that they're in there, Sean Parker is just straight up feeding Mark everything that he wanted to hear or everything that Mark has been saying to Eduardo in regards to like getting revenue from Facebook. And Mark this entire time has been saying that like we can't advertise or make revenue off Facebook yet because it's still cool. Like we want something to be cool, and that will infinitely drive up the value of something rather than immediately being plastered with like Mountain Dew ads. And essentially Sean Parker is like, no, yeah, that's correct. You want something, if you have something cool, you don't want to taint it with ads and all this stuff, and you don't even know what it is yet. You want to be able to ride this thing out, and whenever you get, whenever it gets to its peak, sell it to the highest bidder.
Mhm.
And is just telling Mark everything that he wants to hear. And you can see Jesse Eisenberg's character, just the wheels turning in his head as he's speaking. And then there's another flex too from freaking Sean Parker in this scene where he goes through this whole like biography about how Victoria's Secret came about as a brand, and that essentially what happened was the whole story in him explaining how Victoria's Secret became a brand was because he's brought a Victoria's Secret model as his date. And it was just like, all right, that's a flex, but also a little egotistical.
It
I
is.
feel like that's too much of a flex because I feel like you can flex too much.
He does, because they're pouring him drinks, and he goes, no,
Bring back the 1945,
Yeah.
42.
1942.
Yeah,
more
which is
expensive
expensive
older
So that
one.
bottle is
tequila.
expensive right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's again, it's another one of those scenes where he's just feeding him, like he's feeding the machine, right? He's he's already got the wheels turning, and now he's just like, now let's give it more ammo to
Yep.
just sit there and just go after it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Mhm.
oh, by the way, let's make it look like this lifestyle is like very lavish and get the expensive stuff. Guess what? I date models because I did stuff with technology. You know, it's a good scene.
Yeah.
For sure. My next one is pretty far down. It's when he freezes the bank accounts.
Oh, okay.
Mine's pretty far.
So my next one's whenever we find out that his shares were diluted. I
Ah.
don't know if that coincides with yours or not.
That's pretty much towards the end, isn't it?
Yeah, because mine's
Close
at the
to
very end. Mine's the $19,000 check.
Okay, so ours is near each other.
Ours is near
Yours
each
is
other.
beforehand.
Okay, I'll bring mine up. Mine, essentially, he goes to Mark Zuckerberg. He decides to go to California and leave Eduardo behind to go do different stuff in New York. He's got an internship there for however long.
But that's Eduardo's fault.
Eduardo's he's the business side. He's trying
Yeah,
to get
at this point.
advertisement. He's trying to create revenue for a business. I mean, that's literally
Yeah.
the
Well, yeah.
job of a business is to create revenue.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
at this moment,
point,
he's
he's the only one that's put any money into it.
Yeah.
Spent $18,000 or $19,000.
Started with 1,000 whenever it was first starting off, even
Yeah.
more because he had to get that server or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he gave him $18,000 to go for a summer
Yep.
and to build whatever he's got over there in California.
And as from a business perspective, if there's been no return on your investment, that's a failure.
Yeah.
And so from Eduardo's side, he's looking at it like, well, this is just a pipe dream. Like, I need to go actually do something
Yeah.
and make some money somehow.
And he seems to be really working his butt off. But, we see Mark's life over there, and we see he's living basically college style dorm, like a frat house, pretty much.
Zip lining off the roof,
zip lining off the roof,
smoking,
yeah.
drinking.
And it's after the party scene. He tells Sean that he's got to come move in. He ends up, I think he moves in.
Yeah.
He moves in. There's underage girls.
Rent free.
Yeah, rent-free, underage girls, all that stuff. And it's the scene where, they're getting bangs at the door, and Sean goes and opens it, and you just see Eduardo outside, drenched in water, and he's like, "You're supposed to pick me up an hour ago. I've been waiting an hour just to get here to see you in California, because I've been working my butt off everywhere else." And it's the scene where, after all that ends, he decides to go and freeze the accounts.
Yeah.
And it's really stressful because he goes in, and that Facebook is literally thriving only because of this money.
Yep.
This is how Facebook is running. And when he decides to freeze it, he gets that phone call from Mark saying, I look like a fool trying to go in and cash a check. I'm not going to go back to this lifestyle. If Facebook even drops one single time, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He starts to lose his mind.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, we never crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And I don't know. I loved it. And it also kind of brings in the whole idea of saying that they're going to get a big shark investor, pretty much.
Peter Thiel.
Yeah, Peter Thiel. That's going to give him $500,000.
Yeah.
And then that gets his attention.
Yeah.
And brings him back to California. And that's kind of what leads into your guys' end scene.
Yeah. So at this point, whenever they get that big investment from Peter Thiel, that solidifies Facebook as like a big company, right? They just got a big investment. They have an office now, and they are even setting up like ownership shares of the company. So at this point, because Peter Thiel is giving them the money, he wants a certain percentage of the company that he gets to own. So I believe it gets split up with like Mark gets like 51% of the company. Sean Parker gets however many.
Like 7%.
Yeah, 7. Peter Thiel I think gets 7. And then there's a couple other people that get some. And then Eduardo gets 30% of the company, resulting in over like 1 million, like 1.3 million ownership shares of Facebook.
Yeah.
So with that being said, this man owns a lot of the company. And, thinks everything is going fine and dandy, starts to, I believe, like travel back to New York and do other things while Facebook is continuing to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite scene is whenever they sign the things, letting him know of his ownership shares, and he comes back to California to sign some other things, thinking that everything is fine.
It's for their 1 millionth member.
Yeah, they're going to be celebrating 1 million members soon. And, goes to San Francisco, goes into the offices, not sure exactly if he should dress for a party or if he should dress for a business meeting. So he kind of goes in between both and comes into this office, and everybody's just dressed like in cargo shorts and flip-flops and pajamas, and he looks like a fool coming in because he's dressed all nice, and there's a lawyer waiting in a meeting room ready for him to sign some documents. And the first time that Eduardo signed the deals for ownership shares, he never really read the fine print. He just kind of signed and was assuming that everything was going to be taken care of and that Mark would take care of him. But whenever he went to sign these new get these new signatures that these lawyers were needing, that's when he took a minute to read, and he recognized that almost all of his ownership shares were diluted, and that eventually Eduardo would just no longer be a part of Facebook, and that he would no longer own Facebook or have any ownership in it at all. He even went as far to dilute his ownership shares down to 0.3 percent of the company.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and reallocated all of his ownership shares to Mark, Sean, Peter Thiel, a couple other people.
This scene, dude.
Yeah, and it becomes this explosive scene that I love, that Andrew Garfield just kills it in. But he kind of reads this thing and looks out and he sees Mark, who's they say wired in. He's got these headphones and he's typing on this computer, and he comes out of the room and it's just explosive, and he just goes, "Mark!" and starts storming off to him and starts yelling, "Mark!" And Sean Parker comes up and is like, "Oh, he's wired in." And he's like, "Oh,
really?
Okay. He grabs his computer and smashes it, and he says, "How about now? He's still wired in?" And I love that tenacity that this guy just has, because he's just angry. He is frustrated. And this also comes with a couple of my favorite quotes from the entire film in this scene. He's yelling at him and stuff, and Mark says something like, how much, I forget exactly what he says. He says, "You're mad at me because you made a bad business deal and all this stuff
with
and
your
everything."
own business. Yeah,
with your own business. And he looks at Mark and he says, "How much were my shares diluted and how much were his?" And points at Sean, and he just doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And he repeats the question, and Mark just doesn't answer. And Sean starts to say something. I forget exactly what he says, but it comes with my favorite quote, where he says, "Sorry, my Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie, my FU flip-flops, you pretentious D-bag."
Yeah.
And then he says something to the effect afterwards, where he says, "It's going to be like I'm no longer a part of Facebook." And Sean says, "You are no longer a part of Facebook." And he says, "That's not true. My name's still on the masthead." He says, "You might want to check again." It's like, oh, dude, these guys are just stabbing him in the back, just betraying this fool. And then afterwards, he's like, "No, you better lawyer up, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for all of it. And so, you better be ready, because you just started a war."
Yeah.
And then it goes back into while that's happening, it's cutting back in between depositions between Eduardo and him, and it's just driving home the point. The lawyer's like, "How many of Peter Thiel's shares were diluted?" And he says, "None." "How many of Sean Parker's shares were diluted?" "They weren't."
Oh.
"How many shares of Mark Zuckerberg's have a speech impediment? Mark Zuck's shares, how much were they diluted?" "They weren't." And just goes down the line, and then he starts to talk about how his were diluted, and it's just an entire scene of just betrayal. And
yeah.
I also love that it's juxtaposed with him receiving his new business cards that say, I'm CEO, B word.
Yeah.
And it just it has this somberness afterwards, where it's kind of like, all right, I'm at the top. Now what? I just lost one of my best friends, and I just got this card that says I'm CEO. Was it worth it?
Yeah.
And it comes in with that score too. Again, the ding, ding, ding. It's very good. I that whole scene is just insane.
I don't know. I loved it and hated it, only because it seemed like it should have been very intimate. It's a very intimate problem with these two guys. It's business owners. And throughout the whole time, this third party, Sean Parker's like, "We're going to get that signature."
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to sock him in his face, dude.
I hate Sean.
Freaking hated him.
Yeah, and that leads into your favorite part of the scene as well.
My favorite part of the scene is Eduardo's leaving. He's frustrated. And obviously we get what happened. And Sean Parker's on the side. He goes, "All right, he goes, security, take him out, and he goes, Eduardo goes, I'm leaving, like, to the security guard, and the security guard's right there. And Sean Parker just says, oh, wait, and pulls out a $19,000 check to what he invested in.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I have the quote right here, and he goes, here's your $19,000. I wouldn't cash it, though. I drew it on the account you froze. And then you see Eduardo, like,
Goes,
he's like he's about to punch
He
him.
flinches.
And he straight up says, I like standing next to you, Sean. It makes me look so tough. And then just walks out.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
And I was
I
just
love
like,
that line.
I was like, man, I wish you really punched him.
Yeah.
Because that's what he deserves.
Yeah.
And I hate Sean Parker. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
this, I don't know
I
this
just-
fool, and I want to hit him myself.
Yeah, I love that line of him getting the last laugh and being like, "You're such a pansy, dude. Like
Yeah.
you make me look so tough, and I'm not. Like I'm some skinny, lanky kid, you know."
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I think I also laughed because I like Andrew Garfield as an actor, and then this is Justin Timberlake, so then I just imagine Andrew Garfield beating up Justin Timberlake, and I think that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
But that's my last scene.
Okay, that was my last one as well.
Yeah, that pretty much is the end, honestly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we can move on if you guys are ready.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some best quotes.
Okay.
There are quite a few memorable quotes.
There are.
The writing in this movie is just awesome. My first one is from the intro scene with Rooney Mara's character, Erica Albright. She says something to the effect of, dating you is more exhausting than a Stairmaster. And I laughed at that scene rewatching it again because it's so hilarious to think about her drawing the comparison between how exhausting it is dating Mark to like how exhausting exercise is. But
That says a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
it's also true because it's very repetitive, and you're just like,
you're kind of just going through the motions, trying to finish what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good quote.
it's a good
Mhm.
analogy.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
My first one is, I think it's pretty dumb. You guys might not like it. But it's during one of the scenes with the, what's the twins' names?
Winklevoss.
The Winklevoss.
Winklevoss. The Winklevoss. What am I can't
The
say it.
Winklevi.
Tyler and Cameron. You can call them Army Hammer.
Well,
we all
the-
know what you're
the
talking about.
twins.
Yeah, the twins.
It's the very first scene, or very first part of the lawsuit.
Mhm.
And they're talking, and they're reading one of these emails that they sent to each other, and it says, "Oh, 2 future Olympians and a movie star." And Mark's lawyer says, "Well, who was the movie star?" And the guy, I guess their business
Divya.
partner,
Divya.
Divya, he goes, "Oh, that doesn't matter at this moment." And I thought it was funny because he's obviously talking about himself. I think
What do you mean?
that he was the movie star, that he was gonna be the future movie star.
Divya?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw something in the trivia side that said that the actual movie star was Natalie Portman, because Natalie Portman went to Harvard around the time that Facebook was being created and all that stuff.
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite quote,
Dude, I think we all love this. It's again from the twins. Divya is saying they're deciding on whether they should actually sue and what
Yeah.
they should do.
I love it. If it's the one I'm
is.
thinking of,
It
I love
is.
this.
He goes, "No, I want to hire the Sopranos to beat the crap out of him with the hammer."
Yeah.
And the twins are talking. They go, "We don't have to do that. That's right. We can do that ourselves. I'm 6'5", 220, and there's 2 of me."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I
Oh,
I-
dude.
I love it. I love that quote. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, especially with Army Hammer saying it. He's like, "I'm 6'5", 220, and there's 2 of me." It's so funny.
Not very intimidating, honestly.
So funny.
Yeah.
My other favorite quote that we've already talked about is that whole "Do I have your attention?" scene. But other than that, there's so many like one-liners and zingers
Yeah.
in this film that there's just too many to count. So that's it for me. for
My
best
last
quotes.
one was the check one, so I already said it.
Oh yeah. My last one is with Chrissy,
Okay.
and it's it's after that whole debacle. He freezes the accounts. He goes back home, and he's just chilling on his bed. She comes in all dressed in look like leather, like all black leather, and she goes, "When did you get back?" He said, "I got back this afternoon." And she goes, "And when were you going to call me?" And he goes, Chris, it was a long road trip. It was kind of tough. I'm really tired. And she
I
goes,
know
or
that.
answer one of my 47 texts. Did you know I sent 47 texts? And he goes, I did. And I thought that was incredibly normal behavior. And I died laughing.
Yeah. Another great quote that we could say as well is during one of the deposition scenes, Eduardo's lawyer reiterates the amount that Eduardo's already invested at $18,000. Eduardo
Oh
says,
yeah,
yes.
that's one of my.
And Gretchen says, in addition to the $1,000 you'd already put up. Eduardo says, yes. That's a total of $19,000 now. He says, yes. And then Mark says, hang on. And sarcastically, he's all, just a second, and adds up the two amounts. He says, I'm just checking to make sure your math is correct on that. Yeah, I got the same thing. It's like, oh, come on, dude. You're such a jerk.
I put that as a big bro moment because I laughed so hard.
Yeah. Okay, my last one is the biggest slap in the face. Is when Mark Zuckerberg finally goes to talk to Erica again when she's at that party thing. And at the very end, she goes, good luck with your video game.
Yeah, dude. Oh, what a slap to the face,
It
man.
is.
And
I was
then
like,
where is she now?
I have no
exactly.
idea.
She's not a billionaire like Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know why I said it
she's
like
still
that.
happy.
Yeah.
I feel like she'd still be happy.
Erica Albright's prancing through the daisies while Mark Zuckerberg is. Yes, this is water.
Yep, seriously.
All right, if that's it for best quotes, what are some bro moments?
Okay.
I got a couple.
So my first one is when we find out that Mark has been working on making the Facebook the entire time rather than the Harvard connection that he was contracted to make for the Winklevoss twins.
I give him props.
Yeah, one of the bro moments in that is they sent like 40-something emails or 36 emails. He sent back 16 of them. 15 of them were him delaying it, and the 16th one was him saying like,
oh, we have an issue.
yeah, we have an issue. And it was that like he waited till that long just to say something.
Yeah.
My first bro moment was knowing that he was in 2 lawsuits at such a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
My next one is Mark getting dome in the bathroom.
Bro, I said getting down and dirty in the restroom.
Yeah, I had that one next. My next one after that is when Christy sets Eduardo's present on fire.
Yeah, that's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
The
Mine's-
silk scarf.
Mine's literally right after that, the next one. And it's when Chrissy was super sad when she finds out that they got the settlement or they got a loan for $500,000. And she immediately looks so sad because she knows that's a lot of money. And she looks at Eduardo and she goes, "You're leaving already?" with puppy dog eyes. And I'm like, dude, you just want money.
And he's all, yes. And I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, heck yeah.
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 My last one is whenever Sean gets caught up at the party with underage girls and a little bit of, I think they call it booger sugar.
Booger sugar.
Powder sugar.
Yeah.
That powder sugar with that siwap.
Yeah.
On his hand. Dude.
Yeah. And he gets caught, gets thrown in jail. And
He goes, I don't know whose that is.
he's
I
all,
was like-
that isn't mine.
That is
Dude,
mine.
Dude,
on,
and
dude.
that's my favorite line from anything. I hear cops when you watch cops. That wasn't mine.
I don't know where
Yeah.
I got
Then
that.
why is it in your pocket? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my last one. The
Yeah.
party.
So that's a huge promo, but also him like kind of screwing Mark over, and like at the end of things, everything that Eduardo suspected becoming true, and being like, listen, this guy's had a history with problems with drugs and with controversy and all that stuff, and it's only going to come around to bite us in the butt. And Mark is like, no, he's a genius. We need him. He needs to be a part of it. And eventually, whenever he becomes a part of it, and he thinks everything's great, throws Mark under the bus and taints
Ruins
Facebook's Facebook's view.
Yeah, ruins it pretty much.
Yeah. But other than that, that's all of it for bro moments for me.
Yeah, me as well.
All right, let's get into some facts then.
Yeah, let me hit you with the budget. So to make this movie, it took about $40 million to make it. Opening weekend, it brought 22.4 million. Gross for U.S. and Canada was 96.9 million, and worldwide was $224.9 million.
God.
Wow.
So almost $250 million.
Okay, I want to go immediately after that with this fact because it relates to the grossing number. So at the time of release, there were about 750 million active users on Facebook. If everyone who had a Facebook account at the time went to see the movie during its theatrical release, it would have grossed somewhere around $6 billion.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's insane.
So yeah, way less than what'd you say? How much?
Oh, it's 224.9 million.
Yeah, okay.
That's insane.
So I thought that was super interesting.
That's
That is very interesting.
insane.
That's crazy. I got one in regards to awards. So this movie was heavily Oscar nominated. Got nominated for tons of categories, including achievement in sound mixing, cinematography, directing, best performance by an actor in a lead role, best motion picture, best score, best film editing, and adapted screenplay.
Jeez.
It won best adapted screenplay. It won best achievement in film editing, which I agree with heavily. I think the editing for this movie is superb, as well as another one that I agree with, best score or best original score for the film as well. Which
What
I think
came
is
out
perfect.
then?
Yeah,
that
I don't know
year.
what it's going against, but that score definitely has a quality to it that's haunting
Yeah.
and yet very beautiful.
Yeah. This was the Academy Awards for 2011.
Yes,
to
I'm
see
looking up
everything
right
that
now.
happened in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not exactly sure. If you want to look that one up.
I'm looking it up right now.
While you do look that up, I have another fact here about Jesse Eisenberg, who was nominated for Best Actor. He actually is diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and he said that in an interview that one of the hardest things about the role that he had was having to deliberately speak and behave in a manner that he had struggled against in his own life personally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue
Yeah,
because it's straight up so analytical, so articulate.
yeah.
And one mistake means to completely redo the whole scene.
Yeah, and also it's just completely antithetical to everything that he is as a person.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do that, like, within the lens of like an acting, or within the lens of being an actor. I
Mhm.
guess I should say.
The fact that he was able to pull it off though says a lot about his talent.
Or
Right?
his talent paired with the writing. I think that this, that duo, just work off each other so well.
Yeah.
And it's perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did you figure it out?
Yes, there's a lot actually. So which one was the one that you wanted to hear? Because
Let's do what won Best Picture,
what one Best Picture was?
or what was nominated and then what won.
Oh, shoot, I just lost it.
Movies in 2010, Shutter
It's
Island.
right here. Okay. The Black Swan, The Fighter,
The Black Swan.
Fighter's
Inception, The
good.
Kids Are
Inception's
All
good.
Right,
Inception what?
127 Hours, The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, Winter's Bone,
True Grit
The
was
King's
good.
Speech.
I think King's Speech won, didn't
The
it?
King's Speech won.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
Oh.
Colin Firth going, I, going stuttering.
The King's Speech, man.
And then for original score was How to Train Your Dragon, Inception, The King's Speech, 127 Hours, and then of course the winner was The Social Network.
Wow.
Who won Best Actor that year?
Best Actor that year. Best Actor speaking role was Colin Firth,
Oh, for King's Speech.
The
Yeah.
King's Speech.
Okay.
Sweet.
Who else was nominated?
Javier Bardem for Beautiful. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, but
Yeah,
it's spelled
It's
wrong.
B-I-T.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
B.I.U..
I've been
I
meaning
wanna
to
watch
watch that.
that.
It looks
Yeah,
cool.
it's on my
Jeff
list.
Bridges for True Grit, Jesse Eisenberg, and then James Franco for 127 Hours.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I wouldn't be too upset about any
No.
of those nominations,
No.
honestly.
Mm-mm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All right. Let's go into Justin Timberlake. He had to lose, or he did decide to lose, 15 to 17 pounds for his role for this movie. He felt that making himself look skinnier and would make him look younger.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know his actual age and what he was trying to portray Sean Parker as, but
I'm not sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
I'm not
lost
sure.
some weight for this, which that was crazy.
Yeah, most definitely.
The last fact that I have that actually made me laugh was Shia LaBeouf turned down the role to play Mark.
That would have been insane.
I don't
I
think I
don't
would have
think-
liked it as much.
I don't think he could have done it. I do like Shia LaBeouf as an actor. I think he can do a lot, but there's just something about Jesse Eisenberg playing Mark Zuckerberg that
Hits
I just
different.
Yeah,
Is it Berg in the last name?
yeah.
Bergenberg?
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about that duo
Yeah.
that just it works.
Yeah.
And I can't see anybody else doing it.
Anytime I think of Shia LaBeouf, now I just think about the meme when he was sight reading. I don't know what film it was, but he's inside a car.
Oh, it was
And he's
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He's just smoking
He's
in the
just
car,
smoking, just
going.
And then look, and dude, he looks busted. He's just
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I got a couple more facts
I do
here.
too, yeah.
First off, Jesse Eisenberg and Andrew Garfield, they became good friends during filming. According to Eisenberg, the dramatic rivalry between their characters was hard for the two because it affected them both emotionally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
So
can
that was
see
pretty
that.
funny.
I feel like Andrew Garfield is just such an easy guy to be friends with.
yeah,
He seems wholesome.
yeah, most definitely.
I have a movie fact. Like, the actual technical side of the movie I thought was super interesting. When Facebook hits 1 million members, the number 1,046 appears on the screen after Sean Parker requests a refresh. The producers purposely chose this number to correspond with the running time of the movie of 1 hour and 46 minutes, 46 seconds.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that.
So at
That's
that
pretty
point,
cool.
that's the run time, and
Yep.
then you got about 20 minutes left before the film ends.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
That is
I
really
think that's
cool.
pretty cool.
There's another one in regards to the actual filming of the movie. That opening breakup scene with Jesse Eisenberg and Rooney Mara ran 8 script pages long and took 99 takes to get right.
That's... I can't imagine. It'd feel like chalkboard on a nail just going over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Seriously. Another one here actually about the making of the film. The main video editing was done in Final Cut Pro
Oh, yeah.
with extensive work on tweaking, conforming, and fixing up shots done with Adobe software, namely After Effects and Premiere. In 2000,
We're familiar with those.
Yeah, in 2011, the film became the first Academy Award winner for Best Editing that utilized Final Cut Pro.
That's pretty sweet.
Which is pretty crazy, man. I mean, straight up just upload it onto a Mac and upload it, like, download a pretty reasonable software and edit a movie
And go
that
to
wins
town.
Oscars. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got one more here if you guys don't have any.
Let's hear it.
Go for it.
So the script was actually written in 178 pages.
Okay.
Now, a general rule of thumb with making movies is that you want to take a page per minute, and that's the run time of your movie. So that equivalates to 178 minutes that the film usually should be. The studio had told Aaron Sorkin to cut at least 30 pages of dialogue out. But director David
Said,
Finch...
Nah, it's too good. It's too good.
David Fincher decided that he was going to keep all of them and that they were going to streamline how they said the lines. So that's why a lot of the dialogue in this movie is just fast-paced, and it's just nonstop going.
Makes sense.
Because it has so much dialogue and so many pages of script to get through that they didn't want to, take any of that away. So they just had to, just spitfire everything that would go. And what I had read actually was that David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin would sit down with one another and they would read a script of dialogue or a piece of dialogue with one another, and they would time it and say, how fast can we possibly get this big chunk of dialogue out, time that, write it down, and now whenever it comes to the takes, we need to look at these people and say, hey, that was great. That scene needs to be 45 seconds faster. And they would make them do tons of takes until they got it specifically on time. They would time the scenes and make sure that they were hitting that mark every time.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could definitely tell in the movie, too. It's breakneck.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that's it for the facts for me.
Okay, me too.
All right, what didn't work for you guys?
I'll start by saying Brenda Song's character, I know it wasn't heavily she's not very much an important...
She's not an important character.
Yeah, she's not an important character, but I don't know. I don't like what they did with her character, honestly. I felt like it was really transparent with what they were trying to do. I feel like they were really trying to create Eduardo as being this insanely sympathetic character, and that, at the end of the movie, when you see that his shares drop, you're going to cry for him because you sympathize him with so much, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like she was kind of just just another piece of that,
a plot device or something.
like a plot device. And it kind of, her whole arc of her going crazy at the end, sure, it was intriguing and it kept me engaged, but it didn't really have any connection. It wasn't even set up to be like this.
Yeah, the only way that we get her being that way is she's jealous. And he just says that she's jealous to Mark. That's it. There's no actual there's nothing to beforehand to show us that she is jealous. The entire time she's just kind of riding along the ride, and she's just I'll take an appletini.
Yeah.
There's nothing to insinuate that she's a jealous person.
Yeah. It was the one time where I was like, oh, okay, she's not really a character or a person. She's it's the one time where I kind of saw through the film and I was like, oh, this is what they're trying to do here. She's just solely being used to create more sympathy for Eduardo.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like that. I want them to feel like real, genuine characters.
Yeah.
And she, unfortunately, did not. For me, at least.
One of the things that didn't work for me is some of the CGI in this movie has not aged well. Yeah. Now, granted, this movie came out in 2010. There is some of the CGI that does work insanely well. Like when I first watched this movie, I genuinely thought there were two Army Hammers.
I did.
Like
Yeah.
I was like, that's insane. They got two twins to play this exact same role. They look insanely alike. And then when I found out it was only one person, I was like, what the heck? That's crazy, you know? And then find out, you know, they do a lot of body doubling and stuff. There's actually, they did do a body double, but they deep faked the guy's face. The guy that played the other twin's name was Josh Pence, I believe. And then Army Hammer plays obviously the other twin, and then David Fincher decided to deep fake Josh Pence's face out so that way Hammer's face could be on the other twin. And there's a specific scene whenever the two are rowing with one another, and you can see like Army Hammer's face on the other twin that's kind of out of focus, and you see the face just kind of like shifting and moving around because it can't keep up with the motion,
Yeah.
and it just ends up looking like a bad Instagram face filter that just looks like Army Hammer, but it's not actually him. And I noticed that at first, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if I could brush that off. Like it looks bad.
It does.
You know, so
It was definitely noticeable. And when you know that there's a body double, you can kind of see them, how they decided to film some of the scenes. You can see like there's gonna be a definite cut between them
yeah.
when they shoot the one.
And you're
One's
like,
gonna
just
be out
see,
of frame.
Like, see the ear,
Yeah,
or
you
something.
See, you see just
know?
the ear. Yeah, so you can kind of once you know that fact, you can kind of tell.
I didn't notice it watching it, and then I just found it.
Look it up, and he's like this.
Dude, it looks so bad.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is this the one you're talking about?
Yes, I think this is the one.
I
Yeah,
hope
let me
it
see.
is.
But man,
Yeah, that's it.
That's-
that one
That
right
looks
there.
horrible.
You can see the real Army Hammer, and then you see that's obviously like a filter.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like it looks very.
they
bad.
tried.
They tried. They
Yeah.
get points for trying. I think this was like around the time, this is like some of the first deep fakes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good
Yeah.
compared to what we have now, dude. There are deep fakes where I'm like,
You couldn't tell.
I couldn't even tell if that's the real thing or not. Like it's pretty convincing stuff now, which
For
is
sure.
kind of scary.
I've never noticed it, Dane.
But another one for me, I've read that this movie isn't insanely true to life as to what really happened.
Yeah.
And I think this movie like hails it as being like, oh, based on a true story, and like you know, it. Really,
I went into it thinking that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like a lot of people watch this movie and they think that's what happened, and it's not.
Yeah,
you
not
know,
that
and I kind of wish that they would have taken a little less liberties with some of the dramatization and like actually told the real story,
Yeah.
or like I said, like take a little less with the dramatization. Still give some of that, make people intrigued, but do it historically accurate, you know,
Yeah.
or at least more than what they did.
Yeah. It definitely requires you to go and research and to find out what actually happened, what was actually important to the story, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where that would affect you.
Yeah. Other than that, for me, the only other thing I have, this movie is a great movie, I will say, and you'll see it with all of the things that I have for what did work. But for me personally, despite this movie being great, like filmmaking-wise, acting-wise, like, everything is great about it. I don't know, there's just something about it for me where I just don't see it as too rewatchable. It's a great movie. I think maybe watch it like a handful of times and just be like, wow, that was great. From a filmmaking aspect and from an acting aspect, everything is great about it. But I don't know, there's something about it where I'm just kind of like, I don't see myself being like, dude, you know what I want to watch? The Social Network.
Yeah.
You know, unless I talk with somebody about it and I get hyped about it again, like maybe I'll rewatch it then.
Yeah.
But I don't see myself kind of just sitting back on a Saturday and being like, dude, I'm gonna pop in the Social Network. You know?
It's more it is informational as well, and it is really a hefty watch too,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
It keeps you centered in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see rewatching would be an issue.
Yeah. If I'm gonna watch a movie like that's like, you know, high pace, high octane the whole time.
Uncut Gems.
Oh, dude,
Uncut
took the
Gems.
words right out of my mouth.
Uncut Gems immediately.
Uncut Gems. Yeah. It's that or like,
I've been wanting to rewatch that movie, dude.
oh yeah, that we've already done an episode on Uncut Gems. If you want to listen to that, go to Apple or Spotify or something like that. We don't have video episodes on that one,
No.
but yeah, check that one out. What did work for you guys? If we are over what didn't work,
For me, I was enjoyed the whole time. I started watching it on my lunch today from work, and I set an alarm to be like, okay, it's like a 5-minute drive to my work. I need 7 minutes to get there. Okay, and I put it, and it got to like this intense point and my alarm went off, and I said, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like I didn't want to pause it,
Yeah.
and I just kept on wanting to watch it and watch it throughout the rest of my shift. And then as soon as I got home, I just straight up turned on my TV and just watched the rest of it because I was like so interested in it, and I really enjoyed it because of that.
Yeah.
And that says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say too, to kind of echo that a bit. I think the writing in this movie is impeccable.
Mhm.
I think the pacing as well kind of falls into the same category there. Like they're incredible.
Mhm.
Like this movie says what it needs to say, and it does it in a way that's so efficient that this movie doesn't even feel like it's the 2-hour runtime.
No
that it is.
way. No way.
Yeah.
I was saying that the script for Jesse's part of Load had to have been about a mile long. But it's true. A lot of it, this is one of the movies where dialogue is king, right? And the fact that I was completely engaged the entire time, just watching these fools talking to each other, it's got to be mentioned.
Exactly.
It's absolutely impeccable writing. If they didn't have this solid of a script, I
This
don't know.
movie would fall apart.
It would
Yeah.
definitely fall apart. There'd be parts where it lagged, parts where I'm just like, dude, get it over with. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
have to have a great script to get
Mhm.
something like this done.
Yeah.
And then it even extends to acting as well.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg,
he kills.
he kills it, dude.
Like it's kind of insane to me that he didn't get an Oscar, because he truly like gets down like to a T,
Mhm.
like how I feel the way that Mark Zuckerberg is. It's kind of insane.
It is.
It's like uncanny almost. like you know, like that what's that feeling? It's called Uncanny Valley,
Mhm.
where like, you know, you have this weird sense of like offstandishness to like AI.
Yeah.
And so
That
that's
looks
how-
too human,
Yeah.
kind of like.
That's what it feels like being like, you kind of portray him a little too well, man. Like it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Man, he studied him for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Even all the rest. Army Hammer, I thought he was fine with as the Winkle or the Winklevoss twins.
Yeah. Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield
kills it.
He kills it. He's
Yeah.
the emotional backbone of this film, dude.
Exactly.
Without him, we wouldn't have any, like, there would be just an a-hole on screen. We
Yeah.
have to have that someone to sympathize with, to connect with,
Exactly.
and to see that tension.
Hmm. I also have to say too, I do like Justin Timberlake in this.
Yeah.
I
was gonna
I
say-
can't see past him as Justin Timberlake, but he does kill it
He
in this role
does.
as his role. I feel like, I don't know. I know that that's not Justin Timberlake, but I feel like that's how he would act.
Yeah,
In real life?
Yeah, in a real life, I feel like he'd act like a Sean Parker.
Yeah, like
You
a
know?
D-bag kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of true too, though.
I don't know. That might be mean to say.
I'm not a big fan
Yeah.
of Justin Timberlake, so I'm okay to say it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah, but he for what he was and what he tried to portray, absolutely did it perfectly because I hated his character. I was like, this guy sucks, dude.
I hated his character.
So I agree.
Yeah, I have to say we haven't brought up the editing in this movie.
Yes.
Is awesome. Like
the cuts, like
yeah, like I
Oh,
think of
dude.
I think of the whole sequence where Mark is creating face mash. Just the editing in that scene alone is like masterful.
There's like 15 different camera angles.
it all going on at the same time. There's this music blaring, internal narration that's going on as well. Like, and to think that was all done, like from a home computer,
Mm-hmm.
was just, man, it's inspiring to me, man. Like to
Yeah.
think that like you could really do this stuff if you really want to.
You
Like,
could.
and it's crazy what people can do with the things that they have at their disposal.
For sure. I think it could have definitely been so easy to get lost in between. Well, there's one deposition, there's another deposition. He's being interviewed, he's being interviewed. He could have gotten so lost with someone who didn't know how to edit it correctly together, and
Yeah.
he did it absolutely perfectly. I wasn't lost for a single second
Yeah.
on where we were in the timeline. Where the present was versus what deposition we're in.
Mhm.
It all just fit together so seamlessly.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say about editing too, I heard it said in a college course that I took that an editor almost has his own version of the movie, right? Like the director and the writer have their version that they work on collectively, and they set out to shoot everything that happens, and it's the editor's job to reflect what the director and the writer wanted that story to tell. But it's also up to the editor to be like, okay, well, now I get a say into how this movie actually gets put together.
It's true.
And like now it's also becoming like my own story because
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's piecing it together.
Yeah, and there's so much intricacies too. It's like, well, do I leave this scene for a second longer because that'll implicit this kind of emotion in the audience? And
Exactly.
there's so much that goes in with editing a film and how that will translate into audiences.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that it worked together so well here.
Yeah, seriously. I think the only other thing that I had written down was just the score.
Yeah.
The score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is mesmerizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's for sure got to be one of my favorites. I love every minute of it. It's like somber. There's moments where it gets me hyped. There's moments where I feel like I'm in a club, like dancing, or at like a rave. Like there's just so many intricacies to the score here, and it really solidified my love for their work.
Mm.
But
That echo that completely.
Anything-
I think we hit them all.
okay, all right. So if that's it for what did work, who wins this movie?
This is hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
I put Andrew Garfield.
Okay, I put Andrew Garfield too.
Okay.
Only because he was the character I sympathized with the most, and I enjoyed seeing him like show his emotion. You know, I do think Jesse Eisenberg did incredible.
Oh, he kills it.
He absolutely kills it, but I lean more towards like, give me some emotion. Give me some like your eyes are watering up like you're so angry.
I think
Yeah.
I was,
Give me some more smashing the
I
the
think,
laptop.
Yeah.
I think it's just because I saw more emotion, but also I think I like Andrew Garfield more than Jesse Eisenberg,
Okay.
That's fair.
Jesse Eisenberg wins it for me.
Yeah.
Mhm. Which is respectable.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say, and I guess sort of like rebuttal to that is, I think Jesse Eisenberg's ability to act like a stone wall
It's hard too.
is hard, but it's
Yeah.
insanely good. Like the way
Mhm.
that he does that and the way that he portrays little to no emotion
Mhm.
with the way that he acts as Mark is insane. And I think whenever I think back to The Social Network, I immediately think of Jesse as playing him and how well that he did.
Yeah, that's a good argument. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But what are some themes for this?
So I'll go first. So I put use your ambitions wisely. And I said
Okay.
don't let your ambitions overcome what you can handle, only because it seemed to be an issue for Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. He kind of I don't want to talk like I'm a business major or anything like that, but it seems like a good takeaway from this is to be like, ambition is what should drive you. Like, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? And how are you going to do that? Set a plan out. But
Mhm.
it almost seems like once your ambition is like overwhelming your life, it's almost like you're not even a person anymore. You're just your ambition, right?
Exactly.
And it almost seemed like he was biting a little bit more than he could chew in some areas,
Mm.
which I think is something that shouldn't always be looked after. You know,
Yeah.
hustle culture is
Yeah.
sometimes it could be damaging.
Yeah, most definitely.
I put down that success is revenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, from the movie, we see that I think what sparked this idea was that his girlfriend breaking up with him.
Incel
Create-
culture.
A little bit it seems like it.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't get a girlfriend. All right, let's go and freaking rate them to animals.
Yeah.
Ugh,
And so, but that's probably the sweetest revenge you can get.
it's just
Success.
Focusing
in
on
the end.
Success and
yeah.
do better for yourself.
Okay.
Do you have?
I have one, but
Okay.
go ahead.
I just put because a lot of the times I hear people say it's not about what you know, it's who you know. But
Yeah.
this one,
It's about what you know.
it's about what you know and who you know. I
Mhm.
thought it was a really good portrayal of saying like, yeah, it's good to have connections, but you also gotta know what you're doing. Like Mark Zuckerberg would never be in the position he was if he couldn't code an entire website overnight and hack
Yeah.
into all these things. So it really truly is also what you can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good to focus on your actual talents in life too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. My themes that I had for this movie were just themes of betrayal, capitalism, and ego.
Mhm.
And the fact that like these are three things that run deep into this movie and drive the entire thing.
It's about drive. It's about power.
Yeah, and it's I mean, when you look back at it, what are things that happen throughout this movie? Greed,
Mm-hmm.
but backstabbing, and a person's pride,
Mhm.
and those three things together make for a deadly combo most of the time, and they usually do not always end well. And I think that could be the case for this film.
Well, yeah, for sure,
You
man.
think it was really greed?
I think it was greed on certain people's parts. not necessarily Mark's, but it was definitely agreed on like a Sean Parker or Peter Thiel or any of the initial investors or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that Mark had originally just wanted to create something, just because he wanted to, and that money wasn't in it, wasn't a big thing for him. But sometimes it does play a role.
Oh yeah.
So
I would agree.
all right, what do we rate in this movie?
I gave it an 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. There's certain people I'd recommend it to, and I think I want to rewatch it because I want to see if I can catch some more stuff.
Okay.
Some more of that bad CGI.
But I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a good movie.
All right, I'll take a half step below you and give it an 8.
Okay. I'm gonna echo Nick and give it an 8 as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still,
It's
really
Yeah,
good.
really good.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Some stuff holds it back,
Yeah.
but
Not a masterpiece, but still very good.
yeah, it's close to it. We could say that. It's
Yeah.
close to it. But all right. Well, if that's it for the episode, you guys. I said if that's it for the episode.
That is it.
Yeah, that is it for the episode. So if you guys stuck all the way to the end, make sure that you guys are leaving likes, comments, subscribing, rating, reviewing the show, all that stuff. It really does help us out and lets us know that you guys are liking what we're seeing, or liking what you guys are seeing, not what we're seeing. We do like when we see you guys interacting with the stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's something that lifts our spirits and lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing and what we could change, what we can do better, what we can continue to improve on, or if you guys don't want us to do anything, if you guys just like what we're doing. So it does let us know that you guys are liking it. So continue to do that stuff. Share the episodes. Follow us on all of our socials. Contact us any way you can. All the methods of contact that we have are in every episode description. We've got Instagram, TikTok. You can email us.
Yep.
All that stuff. So, again, we do thank you guys for listening to the episode, but I believe it is Abe's pick next week.
It is my pick, and
What movie are we watching?
I'm choosing another, not one of my favorites, but I like this movie a lot. It is a Jake Gyllenhaal film. As you know, I like Jake Gyllenhaal, and I'm choosing the movie Southpaw.
Okay.
It came out in 2015, and I haven't seen this movie in like 2 years, so I'm really excited.
I've never seen this movie.
I think you might like it.
Okay.
I'm kind of, I don't know.
Is it like Creed? Like, I liked Creed.
It's in the
No.
same realm. I mean, it's all about boxing.
It's about boxing.
Yeah.
Basically, like, a bad incident happens, and it just, like, makes him go down the drain.
Mm.
And then it's like and then he, like,
He has a redemption arc.
he has a redemption arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
From what I remember,
Does he play Mom Spaghetti?
No.
I remember it being pretty heart-wrenching at some points.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know.
We won't spoil it.
I don't wanna
it's-
spoil
I
it.
want to watch it.
Yeah.
But it's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately, so we'll probably have to rent it.
Okay.
I actually think I might own it. I'll have to look at my little collection.
Okay.
See what you
But
got.
that's the movie Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal and Rachel McAdams.
All right. So make sure that you guys check that out if you haven't already done so, or get a refresher and come back next week to hear what we think about Southpaw. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.